Hi, good day to you. Welcome back to the next part of ANU episode 2. Today we are going to talk about defense, we are going to talk about finance, we are going to talk about technology use, and to end it, we'll talk a little bit about the coronavirus. Starting off with defense, to bolster the IAF surveillance capabilities, India is signing up a long pending agreement with Israel to buy two additional Falcon AWACS. Now, what is AWACS? It's airborne warning and control systems, advanced airborne warning and control systems, and this is going to be, it's like a radar like structure that will be mounted on an aeroplane, and the deal is worth around $1 billion, and it's going to be for two AWACS that will be mounted on a Russian IL-76 aircraft, and this has a capability of surveillance of 300 to 500 kilometers, and this will add on to the existing three Falcon AWACS that we already have in our purchase agreement with Israel. The next is a very important development. This is government is considering setting up a unified air defense command, and it will be headed by a 3-star general, that's Air Marshal of an IA of the Indian Air Force. And the idea behind this a defense command is basically we are moving towards from individual command systems to a theater command or a geographical command. So India currently has something like 17 service commands now, which is 7 in Army and 7 in Air Force and 3 in Navy. And all these, the idea behind this particular unified air defense command is to basically control all, be in charge, responsible, and to control all the air defense weapon systems of Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Now, all of these three services have their own units, and having an integrated approach to it will lead to rationalization of resources and also increase the effectiveness of our entire reach and surveillance capabilities. Earlier, the earliest stage, a joint command we had was on Andaman and Nicobar territory, and then we had, that was a geographical command, and then we also had a functional command called a Strategic Forces Command, which basically was started in 2003. The geographical command of Andaman and Nicobar was started in 2001, and 2003 was the Strategic Forces Command, which basically was created to handle the country's nuclear arsenal, because you have the capability to deliver nuclear arsenal both from Navy, which is through their submarine torpedoes, and also through the ICBMs, and also through the Air Force. And now the government is also mulling creating of a marine command, which will be based out of the Indian Peninsula. The idea of creating these things is to have a unified approach. After a very long time, after a lot of discussions, now recently we have a joint chief of staff, and the idea behind that post is to bring synergies of operation between these three forces, so that there's, as I told earlier, there's a rationalization of the resources and technology. Speaking on this joint command system, some of the early advantages we already had was we had one of the American P-8 submarine hunting aircraft. So this was bought from United States, and we have been effectively using it recently in the Ladakh sector to keep an eye on the Chinese movement. We had earlier used it during the Doklam crisis as well, and also to monitor the Pakistan troop movements post Pulwama. The advantage of this P-8 aircraft, though it's a submarine reconnaissance aircraft, the advantage is it has the capability to provide continuous video feed through the satellite to the command centers in the ground, and this is one of the key advantages, because otherwise earlier it would have just been restricted to the Navy and using it for the submarine anti-submarine surveillance, but now coming to land and modifying it, or the Indian TP, not jugaad is not the right word, but trying to make it useful under these conditions is a very effective outcome of the joint theater command system. The next interesting development that has taken place is HAL, which is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, has indigenously developed a light utility aircraft, and they have successfully tested it at the highest landing helipads. We have two high altitude helipads in Siachen Glacier. They are called as Amar and Sonam, and both these light utility helicopters were landed there. And this LUH is being created to replace the existing aging fleet of Cheetah and Chetak helicopters. And this testing at high altitude is very critical, because in high altitude, due to the changing climatic conditions, the payload capacities of these helicopters go through a huge change, and therefore testing at these levels and our troop engagements, and the need of troops to be supported through choppers in the Siachen Glacier is very, very high. So this test, having passed this, is going to be a very critical feature in these choppers being inducted into the Air Force sequentially. Next is a very important and interesting development. I think something that we all should be very proud of. Defense Minister recently inaugurated around 44 bridges in the border states and union territories. 10 of these bridges were in Jammu and Kashmir, 8 of them are in Ladakh, 4 of them are in Punjab, and 8 in Uttarakhand, and 4 in Sikkim. Now, why is this so critical? Is because we have seen that we had been a kind of a sleeping country with respect to development of infrastructure in the border for quite some time, and after our Doklam crisis and slightly before this, we did anticipate an intrusion from the Chinese, but especially after Doklam crisis, we have waken up to the fact that there is going to be continued engagement and collaboration between Pakistan and China, and therefore China, having developed a substantial amount of their border infrastructure very well, India had to match this pace. And the very critical part of the border infrastructure is the infrastructure should be able to take the heavy load of armored vehicles which go through this. So the bridges have to be made to the specification both on width and the weight bearing capacity to take a good armored column movement. And the pace at which this is working right now is tremendous. This, I think, as a country, we should be very proud that the Border Roads Organization, which is usually headed and also manned by people who have left, people who have retired or taken an early retirement from army. These are the people who work for Border Roads Organization. And they have also hired a lot of laborers who have been working on double shifts 7 days a week, and that is why this is really getting this whole rollout is becoming faster. The next addition in this border, in the border infrastructure, is we just had on 15th October we had the first blast of for construction of Zojila Tunnel. Zojila Tunnel is very critical because this is a 14-kilometer long tunnel that's in the Srinagar Kargil Leh highway, and we all know that this remains shut for almost 5 to 6 months in a year during the winter time. And this Zojila tunnel will now provide an all-weather connectivity, and when this is completed, this will be the longest bi-directional tunnel in the entire of Asia. And the most critical aspect, apart from providing all-weather connectivity to the valley and Ladakh, is also going to be that it's going to bring down the travel time from currently around 3.5 hours to just 15 to 20 minutes. So this is what an infrastructure can do for the nation. It can not only make the life of citizens easier, it can also make the life of rest of the citizens in the other places very good, because your borders are going to be defended, and the deployment of forces can happen at a much faster pace. The government recently, in a very path-breaking way, placed an order for supply of 10 lakh hand grenades with a private sector player called Economic Explosives Limited. Now, there can be a lot of hullabulla and saying that how such a critical item can be placed with a private sector company. I think it's a very welcome change, because it talks about collaboration and faith in the internal capabilities. So these new hand grenades actually are going to replace the World War II vintage design grenades called grenade number 36, which are still in use in armed forces. I think we should be one of the few armed forces, perhaps other than the guerrilla forces, which are still using a vintage World War II grenade. So the EEL, which is the Economic Explosive Limited, basically had a transfer of technology from the Terminal Ballistics Research Laboratories, which is a part of the DRDO, that's the Defense Research and Development Organization. This had transferred the technology to this company in 2016, and the current order value is for 400 crores, and it will be supplied over a period of 2 years' time. So this, I think, is the way you're going to see the future of the armaments and even ammunition that's going to be rolled out in the country on a private-public partnership. Finally, DRDO also successfully had a test run or successfully test flighted the indigenously developed Rustam 2 medium altitude long range endurance drone. This prototype drone has already achieved 8 hours of flying at an altitude of 16,000. Gradually, as the testing keeps increasing, it is expected to have 18 hours of flight at 26,000 feet by the end of 2020, which is just another 2 to 3 months period. It's capable of carrying varied combinations of payload, which includes synthetic aperture radar, which is important for surveillance, and electronic intelligence system, and situational awareness system. It will also have a capability to connect with the satellite and relay on a real-time basis to your ground command systems. And the specification of this particular drone is going to match the Heron unmanned aerial vehicle specs that's currently being used by the Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. This has to be seen in light of India looking to buy almost 30 armed drones from US at a cost of 3 billion. Now it is heard that 6 units of this has already been agreed and the orders have been placed on a government to government basis. But the future of warfare could be based on drones. It looks like a high sci-fi movie, but science fiction movie, but that's how it's going to be. Like, it could be a drone attack coordinated from a ground defense control using satellites and GPS positioning. So that's the wrap up on the defense. I would like you all to just stay connected, stay happy, stay healthy, and wait for us to post the next part of the Anu series episode 2, so that you can all sit back and enjoy and give us more encouragement. Please keep dropping in your comments so that we can improve, and please do subscribe to our video and press the bell icon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.